It's the first trading day of February. It's the month of red and love, and the bulls are looking to strike. What is going on, everyone? Jeremy Ritz here. Courage pays better than fear with another episode of Driven. Happy Monday. Happy new trading month. Happy February. Let's go. Let's make it happen. And let's dive in. I did the Sunday setup yesterday and talked about how markets are looking weak, like they are prepared for a bit of a rest. And we did see a significant fall overnight on the futures. The futures, S&P futures, got down about 130 points. But as has been the case, the bulls stepped right back in, bought it up. And what we've seen over these last 3 trading days, going back to Thursday, is all of these big drops are getting bought up. And that shows us that there are still buyers interested here. And more than likely what this points to, even though the markets are tired, we could just see from a technical perspective on the charts that we are due for a correction. But we're probably going to just continue to chop and range and maybe grind up and make new all-time highs. But it's not going to be that massive blow off top. And what it's going to take to get that actual rollover, that 10% correction, 15% correction, is going to be some additional news catalyst in the form of who knows what to drop this thing to levels where the value is reasonable and we could start the next leg up in this bull market. But for now, it just seems that we're going to chop and slowly grind higher, which is not going to deliver massive returns. It's going to be frustrating for both bulls and bears, but it's part of the cycle. It's where we are right now, and nobody can predict when the bottom is going to fall out. But the thing that I am watching, again, this week we are going to have Google and Amazon reporting earnings, so 2 more of the Mag 9. But the big one, as we know, is going to be on February 25th, and that's when the king of the stock market, NVIDIA, reports at market close, and that will go a long way in determining where we are heading next. Now, NVIDIA has shown a recent history of gapping up off of earnings, but then selling down, fading that price lower the day after. They haven't really had much strength coming out of that earnings report. You'd have to go back to May of 2024, I believe, where they had the last strong gap up that held, and that's when they announced they would be splitting 10-1. But that is definitely something to watch. But what are the pressures downward on the market right now? Well, it was a hot inflation report in the form of PPI that came on Friday that the market did not like, so we saw a little bit of a sell-off come into play there. You have Kevin Warsh, who was named as the new Fed chair, or actually nominated by President Trump. He has to be confirmed. He is a bit of a hawk, so how is that going to align with Trump, who wants rate cuts now, being that this guy is a restrictive policy person? I can't think of anything eloquent to say there. And he's not a fan of quantitative easing. So we'll have to see how that impacts the market. So watching that. And then you have all the geopolitical nonsense that's still out there. U.S. issues with Iran, the nonsense going on with Venezuela. So there's all these things, tariffs on the EU, Greenland. There's all these things where the market is like, can we get a reprieve? Can we get a break? And you have to wonder if it gets to the point where it's like, you know what? I give up, capitulate, boom, drop the bottom out on this thing until the volatility clears. Then people layer back in with their money. But until then, like I said, it's just going to be that chop fest that we're in. Dips getting bought, slow grind higher. And the way that we'll know things are flipping, and this is what I want you to watch, is whenever you get a strong sell-off into the end of the day. We haven't had a day like that in quite some time, where typically we're seeing the selling in the early part of the day. The dip buyers come in the second half of the day. But whenever we start seeing the market sell down from midday into close, and we see that for a few days in a row, then you know that there is something a brewing. But again, I've said this probably since dating back to 2025. This is a head on a swivel market just because things could flip so quickly, and it still holds true here today. So that's what I'm watching. Now, in terms of this week, some things that we have that we want to pay attention to. PLTR is going to report earnings at close today, so we're going to watch that. Wednesday is the Google earnings report. Thursday is Amazon's earnings report. So those three are going to be worth paying attention to. We have a whole lot of data coming in this week. This is jobs data week because we're going to get non-farm payrolls on Friday, and we're also going to get the unemployment rate. Now remember, the weaker that the job market is, the more that the Fed can be open to rate cuts, even if inflation is higher. Because remember, the Fed's goal was to bring those two components of the economy into balance, inflation and the labor market. And right now, inflation is sticky. The labor market is stabilizing a little bit. But if there's more weakness in the labor market, that is good for rate cuts. So we'll see. And then I want to point out a comment that somebody posted on one of the videos. I think it was Two Wheel Pursuits is his name. I'm pretty sure. If I butchered it, forgive me. But he says that he thinks that Warsh, whenever he comes into his term as the new Fed chair, June will be his first meeting. He sees a 2 percentage point emergency rate cut. Could you imagine if that happens and that would be announced? That would be something that would be let out of the bag early. People would front run that. You would see a massive rip if that's the case. Now, I have nothing to confirm that, but I just thought that was an interesting comment on one of the videos. I mean, I'm all for it. Let's rip this sucker higher, but that's hard to imagine. But if it is, man, two wheel, that would be pretty crazy. So that's all I got for you today. It is still cold and snowy out here in my neck of the woods. It is 19 degrees. It's supposed to get colder this week. No snow on tap, thankfully. But I was telling my kids today as I was driving them to school, this snow is going to stick around probably into March. So we just got to make the best of it. And it is what it is. I got a little bit of a cold, as you can hear. That is what it is too. It's not going to stop me. We're going to get after the Ironman trading. We're going to make this a great week. We're going to make this a great trading month. And as always, in the meantime, in between time, thank you so much for your support of the channel. Make it a great day. Honor the moment. And as always, be grateful. Let's crush February, everyone. Let's go.